Islamabad, a city known for its beauty and tranquility, was gripped by fear. A thief, a phantom, was stealing precious artifacts. Each theft was bolder than the last, leaving the police baffled. The citizens whispered, "Who will be next?" The newspapers were filled with stories of the thief's exploits. The police commissioner promised swift justice, but the pressure was mounting. The city held its breath, waiting for the phantom to strike again. Inspector Rana was a man of few words but sharp instincts. He had a reputation for solving the toughest cases. The commissioner called upon him to lead the investigation. Rana, a man of action, immediately got to work. He studied the reports, visited the crime scenes, and interviewed witnesses. He looked for any detail, any clue that could lead him to the phantom thief. He knew time was of the essence. The city's peace, its very soul, was at stake. The city woke up to shocking news. The National Museum, the most secure building in Islamabad, had been robbed. The target was the famed Star of Asia, a priceless diamond necklace. The audacity of the crime sent shockwaves through the city. The pressure on Inspector Rana intensified. The phantom was taunting him, it seemed. Each theft was a carefully planned spectacle, a show of skill and daring. Rana knew he was dealing with a brilliant, elusive adversary. Inspector Rana spent countless hours poring over the details of each theft. He meticulously compared the dates, times, methods, and targets. He drew connections, looking for a pattern, a hidden message in the chaos. Finally, a breakthrough. Rana noticed that each theft coincided with a full moon. The targets, though seemingly random, were all artifacts linked to ancient myths about the moon. The phantom wasn't just a thief, they were obsessed with lunar lore. The new information sent ripples through the investigation. Rana delved into the city's underbelly, seeking anyone with knowledge of such obscure lore. He questioned antique dealers, historians, and even fortune-tellers. Days turned into weeks, the pressure mounting with each passing hour. Then, a whisper, a rumor, reached Rana's ears. There was a reclusive scholar, a woman named Zara, who lived on the outskirts of the city. They said she possessed an uncanny understanding of ancient myths and legends. Inspector Rana, with a mix of hope and skepticism, decided to visit Zara. He had heard whispers about her knowledge of ancient artifacts and legends, and he hoped she could provide some insight into the recent thefts. He found her living in a quaint cottage, surrounded by books and scrolls. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and ink, and the walls were lined with shelves overflowing with ancient tomes and mysterious artifacts. It was a place where history seemed to come alive. She was hesitant at first, but agreed to help, intrigued by the mystery of the phantom thief. Zara had always been fascinated by the legends and myths that surrounded the artifacts she studied, and the idea of a modern-day thief chasing after these ancient treasures piqued her curiosity. Zara helped Rana understand the significance of the stolen artifacts. Each piece was not just a relic of the past, but a key to unlocking a greater mystery. She explained how these artifacts were connected to an ancient legend, one that spoke of a hidden treasure that could only be revealed under the light of a full moon. They weren't just valuable, they were keys to an ancient legend about a hidden treasure, said to appear only under the light of a full moon. The legend told of a treasure so great that it could change the course of history, and it was hidden away by a long-forgotten civilization to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. Rana, realizing the phantom's ultimate goal, devised a plan. He knew that the thief would strike again, and he needed to be ready. He spent hours poring over maps and ancient texts, trying to piece together the clues that would lead him to the treasure before the thief could get to it. He would use the next full moon and the legend to set a trap. The night of the full moon was fast approaching, and Rana knew it would be his best chance to catch the thief. He prepared meticulously, setting up surveillance and positioning his team in strategic locations. As the moon rose high in the sky, casting its silvery light over the landscape, Rana waited with bated breath, ready to spring his trap and finally bring the phantom thief to justice. As the full moon bathed the city in its silvery light, the streets below seemed to hold their breath in anticipation. The night was still, almost unnaturally so, as if the city itself was aware of the impending confrontation. Inspector Rana and his team lay in wait at the legendary treasure site, the ancient ruins on the city's outskirts. These ruins, steeped in history and mystery, had long been rumored to house a treasure of unimaginable value. Tonight, they hoped to catch the elusive thief who had been plaguing the city for months. The trap was set, the bait, a replica of the treasure in place. Every detail had been meticulously planned. The replica was an exact match, down to the smallest scratch and dent, designed to lure the thief into a false sense of security. A figure, cloaked in shadows, emerged from the darkness. The team watched with bated breath as the figure moved with a grace and confidence that spoke of experience. This was no ordinary thief. This was someone who knew exactly what they were doing. With practiced agility, they bypassed the security measures Rana had put in place. The figure moved swiftly, avoiding the hidden tripwires and motion sensors with ease. It was clear they had studied the layout and knew exactly where to step, but as the figure reached for the treasure, the trap was sprung. Hidden nets and alarms activated, ensnaring the thief in a web of security measures. The team rushed forward, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The figure, unmasked, turned out to be none other than Zara. Zara, a renowned archaeologist, had been the last person anyone suspected. Her knowledge of the ruins had given her the edge, but her greed had ultimately been her downfall. As she stood there, caught and unmasked, the team couldn't help but feel a mix of betrayal and relief. The mystery was solved, but at a great personal cost. Zara, the unassuming scholar, was the mastermind behind the Phantom Thief's elaborate scheme. She confessed, her voice laced with a calm resignation. She wasn't interested in wealth or fame. She craved knowledge, the thrill of unraveling ancient mysteries. Zara saw the thefts as a game, a puzzle to be solved. She used her knowledge to outsmart everyone, proving her intellect, her mastery over the forgotten lore. She never intended to keep the artifacts, planning to return them after proving her point. News of Zara's capture spread like wildfire through Islamabad. The citizens were astonished. For years the city had been haunted by the mysterious figure known only as the Phantom Thief. Zara, a seemingly ordinary woman, had managed to elude the authorities while pulling off some of the most daring heists the city had ever seen. Her capture was not just a victory for the police, but a moment of collective disbelief for the people of Islamabad. The Phantom Thief, a quiet scholar living among them. Zara was known in her neighborhood as a reserved and intelligent woman, often seen with her nose buried in books. She lived a double life, balancing her scholarly pursuits with her secretive escapades. Her neighbors were shocked to learn that the woman they had shared tea with was the same person who had masterminded such elaborate thefts. Zara was arrested, her game brought to an end. The police had finally caught up with her, and the arrest was swift and decisive. The handcuffs snapped shut around her wrists, marking the end of an era. The police station buzzed with activity as officers processed the woman who had eluded them for so long, but a strange sense of admiration lingered. Despite her crimes, many couldn't help but feel a grudging respect for Zara. She had outsmarted the authorities time and again, and her intelligence and audacity were undeniable. Conversations in cafes and markets were filled with mixed emotions. Some condemned her actions while others marveled at her cunning. The stolen artifacts were recovered, returned to their rightful places. The museums and private collectors who had been victims of Zara's heists breathed a sigh of relief as their precious items were returned. Each artifact told a story, not just of its historical significance, but of the daring theft that had temporarily taken it from its home. Zara's trial was quick, her guilt undeniable. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and the courtroom proceedings moved swiftly. The judge, stern and unyielding, delivered the verdict with a sense of finality. Zara stood in the dock, her face a mask of calm as the sentence was pronounced. Yet, even as she was sentenced, a faint smile played on her lips. It was as if Zara had accepted her fate with a sense of peace. Her smile was enigmatic, leaving those in the courtroom to wonder what thoughts lay behind it. Was it satisfaction at having played the game so well, or a quiet defiance in the face of her punishment? She had played a dangerous game and lost, but in her own way, she had won. In the solitude of her cell, Zara had time to reflect on her actions. She had challenged the system and for a time, had triumphed. Her capture was a loss, but the legend she had created was a victory of its own. She had become a symbol, a story that would be told and retold. The city would remember the legend of the phantom thief, and Zara, the woman who outsmarted them all. As the sun set over Islamabad, the city buzzed with the tale of Zara. She had become more than just a criminal, she was a part of the city's folklore. Her story would be passed down through generations, a testament to the audacity and brilliance of the woman who had dared to defy the odds.